So this is gonna be interesting. We have these candies here. So, and it's just for us to, I'm gonna pick one. You wanna pick a candy? And I am going to go with orange. Now we can look at these, we can look at the questions in this poster, and let's just take a minute and think, look at our candy, look at our color there, and try to answer that question to ourselves in 30 seconds. Okay. That's good?
Yep.
Okay, now I'm gonna pair, we're gonna pick a pair and we're gonna share
Okay.
that, okay? So,
I will share with you. So you
Okay, we'll share.
yeah. So, you wanna start?
Okay, so I'm green. Book or movie left the last impression. I love movies and I love books. No joke, I read about 4 books a month. And I've seen over 2,000 movies. So this is a hard one. I'm gonna go for 1984, the book. That was the last one we were on.
Awesome.
How about you?
Me? Basically, mine is my favorite food. And for me, that's pretty straightforward. I like avocado rolls. Not sushi, but the avocado rolls is the thing that I crave a lot and I like to buy. But that's awesome. Okay, so now that we have that, who are we?
So, my name is Vinod Sharma. I am Senior Manager at Advent Health. I'm an engineer by nature, project manager by my behavior, and at Advent Health, my job is to cheerlead all the Agile activities for our department.
Yeah, my name is Alejandra Rodriguez. They call me Ali, and I'm an Agile coach. I really love working with creating environments where happy people and motivated people are working together towards one goal. And this is how I came to Agile. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Welcome. So, how many of you have worked in a conventional waterfall team or project? Most of you.
Yeah.
So, for most of my career, I have worked in a conventional team or a waterfall project or managed that team myself. And some of the characteristics of these teams are there are many projects assigned to the same person along with support work and many ad hoc requests. These requests come from email, verbal assignments, or some kind of ticketing system that we use. People switch between these. They are expected to manage their own work as well as their time, and then typically there is a manager who assign different tasks to different people within the team and review it weekly. In fact, team members are supposed to report on a weekly basis. Also, if this is a bigger project, and the slide shows a slice of a one-year project that we did to build intranet and rollout for all our 44 hospitals. And you can see this slide shows, I think, 6 months or more of planning, milestones, and sometimes you need this type of planning, because in our case, we had a travel plan. We had to go to the different hospital. We have 100, 200 people who we were training. So we want to book their time as well. So some of these planning are needed, as opposed to our sister team at that time, who would say we would know more once the sprint is complete.
And at that time, we were very young.
And then, but overall theme for such a big project is many of the tasks are stuck at 90%, and then they magically complete toward the end of the project or when the due dates are, because people work extra hours, and so the productivity increase and then drop and increase as we go.
And we know why that productivity increased, because usually people are working weekends, nights, let's make this thing happen. And that's when, those are some of the pain points that Agile, you know what I mean, tries to make better. And here, what is an Agile team? So an Agile team runs by, there's an Agile manifesto and principle that was written back 2001. It does not mean that that started in 2001. What was going on was, like in the 2000s, late 90s, there were a lot of lightweight methodologies were being emerged in our industry, because software did not work exactly the same as, like what Vinny was showing, didn't fit well with what, you know what I mean, with the nature of what we built. So a lot of software experts came together in Utah in skiing resort, and there they had a 2-day conference. They would call themselves the Agile Alliance. And they were sitting there and they came up with the manifesto, which is very simple. Individuals and iterations over processes and tools, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, working software to measure progress over I forgot that part. Over to measure comprehensive documentation. Those were the days when they used to create like this huge document repositories of a software that nobody ever read, and they would get old.
I remember people that used to be their job was just to manage the documentation for them.
Configuration manager.
So basically that was that. And finally, adapting to change versus following a plan. And those were, so you're going to see that a lot of the Agile frameworks, XP, Scrum, Kanban, are, in essence, that's what they bring to the team.
Traceability metrics is the name which combine all these pointers from the requirements.
So, have you guys worked in Agile teams? And I know, cool. So, I want us to think for a minute, right? And then we can share what one benefit and one struggle of working in an Agile team. So, we can think about that for a minute. Okay, now let's just share.
Like one of each?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, the benefit is, especially back when I was more in the agency world, things don't always go as planned. Some things take longer, some things take shorter. The Agile approach was a lot easier to say, okay, you know what, I'm starting on this story, I'm going to work on this. And at the end of it, you know what, this just does not make sense. We can toss it, but it's, a short amount of work rather than we just lost 40 hours of documenting and planning, which is pretty nice. One of the difficulties is management / clients. To say, well, you know what, we're actually going to be working on this for this 2-week period. I think we're probably going to get this done, but we're going to negotiate, talk about it, and say, you know what, this is crazy, or this isn't going to work, or this caused a problem. And trying to sell them on that, because a lot of management likes to think, well, you're going to work for 3 weeks, I'm going to get X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to pay $8 for this. And that's a hard concept for the people who manage numbers to deal with.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that. I've seen that. Somebody else? Me? I'm so cute.
So I work as a Scrum Master, and one thing that's really nice is the ceremonies create a lot of structure, which I think the developers and even the business really enjoy, because they know after certain time periods they have certain types of update, or the project will be iterated or moving forward, versus like traditional project management where you make a plan, then 6 months later you see if it's working, or you're constantly battering people to see if it's working. So that's one nice thing. The Scrum ceremonies definitely create a lot of structure. One of the struggles is the business will tell you, hey, we really support this whole Agile methodology thing. Can you have this ready in 12 hours? Not so much the rushing, but the idea of, for Agile to work well, you need to let it work. You need to remove certain things like the arbitrary deadlines and stakeholders being able to breathe down developers' necks, because they're breathing down the product owners' necks and actually breathing down the development team's neck. And you need to remove those things. So you get the upfront, you have like, hey, really, you have our support, but towards the end of the project or towards certain goalposts, that evaporates and becomes normal waterfall. So yeah, let's do March 6th. So give me that minimally viable product or a fully fledged product, or I'm gonna pull your funding.
that's interesting because yeah.
Or I should reword funding. The business will lose confidence in the project.
You reminded me
This is
of
so
one
practical.
is the time to make changes. Because on my team, we say generally we want a minimum of 3 sprints to evaluate, is this working or not? And we have some people that are like, no, this isn't working, we're changing it. It's like, let's give it a couple sprints. We're still in the storming part of this change. We're trying to figure it out. Let us figure it out, then we'll decide if it works or not.
Yeah, and
So
that's
a hard
I can relate to that. I've seen that in our workspace too.
No, such a practical insight. Thank you.
So we also have some struggles, and basically, Vinny can share some of the struggles he
For us,
yes.
the transition was not easy because it's not about the mechanics. We understood the mechanics with training, with the coaching, but Agile and Scrum is not about mechanics. It's about how the changing the way you think, the changing the way you behave, and then the changing the way you react to things that are coming at you. As I said, we was conventional team, so most of the problem that we faced was within the team, where we continue to take, our team member continue to take direct requests from the client or support, which obviously impacted their commitment toward the sprint, because they end up working on something extra. Obviously they were trying to be customer friendly, but in long run they were impacting. Also, I was one of the big where I continue to assign hot issues directly to the team member because something is down or something is not working, and people are reaching out to me. And then there was another thing, that brainstorming session. I would ask them to come for a ad hoc brainstorming session, and then soon we learn that instead of doing that, we can add it to the backlog and wait for the backlog refinement. That's a proper way where all the team members are already there. And one of my favorite is we released something and things was failing. It seems like everything, the sky is falling apart. So after a week or so, I started making a punch list in Excel, the list of 50 items, what the hottest is to assign and things like that. And she spotted me as an Agile coach and helped me transition from that Excel to a Jira backlog and let team decide based on the order of the items who will be working on which, and I see the results.
Yeah, and this guy, so the story we're telling you is the implementation of Agile in his group. We got merged, like you were saying, so we got merged. We were, Florida Hospital had their own MIS, Parent Adventist Health System had their own.
We had our own.
We merged, and then they became under our leader. We were the sister team. They used to make fun of us because we were saying we will know more later. But we came together.
You know me,
Hey, Frankie!
I'm always late. How y'all doing?
Good. Frankie's in one of our other teams.
Yeah.
So basically we merged together, and that's how I came to the picture, to help them. So they got a Scrum Master. And one of the things that we had, the struggle that I saw with the team, they came with a huge queue of plus 100 tickets in service now. And we also they had commitments because they were so used to the attention, It's good to have that attention and serving people and helping people and getting the calls and being, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And at times they would just look at Vinny to see, what do you think I should say right now? And they struggle with commitment. They struggle, and we didn't have a product owner role. Like, we didn't have a person dedicated to a product owner role. For in this case, that was one of our struggles.
And then once the ticket was, once they tried few things in the retrospect, that maybe we can do this, maybe we can pick 5 at each sprint, and ultimately they decided that they will have one person who will take less stories and focus more on the support backlog, and ultimately they saw that the queue is going down, and now we have a very manageable queue, which is basically whatever comes new.
And basically, that's how you see it, them experimenting and self-organizing by themselves. Because they went 3 failures. That doesn't work. And till this day, that's what this team does. Every sprint, one person picks service, and they just focus on service.
I think our biggest learning is whenever you face difficult situation, you fall back to your comfort zone, and the more successful people you have in your team typically comes with something that has worked for them, and it's hard to let that go. So unless we continue to coach ourselves and our team member to learn the new way of working, a new way of thinking, you go back to what you know will work.
Well, that's one of the interesting things I've noticed. They'll go back to what they know, but it hasn't always worked. It's what they're used to more than anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Comfort zone.
Yeah, we had almost the exact same problem. We call our backlog for that type of stuff our tech debt backlog.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we did is we negotiated with our product owners and said, hey, you know what, can we have like 13 points sprints or whatever to work on it? And then if they ever have like a new project or something, like sometimes we'll get set up, we'll go through the grooming, and they're like, okay, we're gonna work on this project, and it's right before the sprint's about to start, and they're like, we've got to delay by a sprint. I'm like, okay, we're filling up with a backlog. And they said, great. And so they just let us then go and work on it for that sprint, which is a nice way that we get some standard burn down, but every once in a while we get a nice big spike if they're not ready.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, no. And it's interesting because it's about the people. And I think that's what's beautiful about Agile. It's about the people and what works for the people. Mm-hmm. So you can see how different teams pick different ways of working, and it works for them. So yes, so Vinny's team had a few attempts of Agile, and I think you can explain those first attempts.
So I think in last 10, 12 years, many companies have tried becoming Agile because it's a hot keyword, right? But many of the company like us have done this half-hearted. So our first few attempts was like that, where we did not have a budget to hire a Scrum Master or product owner. So we tried to learn a few things and started doing daily stand-up. And it's funny that not just my old team, but many other team, they think that just by doing the daily stand-up, they are becoming Agile or Scrum. It was a time when we was trying to hire a development partner for a project, and again with the hot keyword, we wanted them to be Scrum, use a Scrum, but then we continue to ask them for a statement of work with a fixed price and fixed scope. So naive, but that was the reality at that time. So ultimately, as we were saying, that we merged the two team and we inherited a Scrum Master and an Agile coach, and that's when the things started changing.
And it's interesting because that's when I started doing this. And I don't, you guys not seeing this, but we have the agenda on a Scrum board in the back, and I'm updating it as we go. And basically, right now we're going how do we start it, and we can see it. So it needs to start at the top. So I met with the leaders, which was Vinny and Cisco, the director. I went over why, what is good, the framework, this is what we're doing, you know.
Why they have to spend so much on all these ceremonies.
Yes, and time, because I don't know, so many meetings.
Yep.
It's always the thing. They just not see all the disruptions they're getting from, if you average out all the disruption like traditional teams get, it's way more than the Agile meetings that they're complaining about. So,
Well, my biggest selling point on it always was, you know, we would spend all these hours trying to figure out that, okay, it's going to cost this amount of dollars, it's going to be these 10 requirements we're doing, it's going to cost this much money. And it was all just a guess, kind of a lie. So it's like, you know what, I can tell you each sprint how many hours we need for the ceremonies. That is for real. When I hand you a statement of work, that's mostly made up. You know, we're just trying to guess. So I can predict this. I can't predict that. Let's try with what we can predict and then see how it works out.
that's awesome, that's awesome. Yeah, and basically what we did later, then we met with the team and we kind of set up how we were gonna onboard this thing. And they set up the tools, some of the team members got certified, we started working the first backlog.
That first backlog's always scary.
And it was rough. It was a bunch of one-liners. But it's a start, you know what I mean? It's a start.
I had a bigger contribution to that backlog. We didn't have the product owner, so I volunteered to be a product owner, and I was working with other stakeholders to build that.
Yeah, so, and then finally when we had that first backlog ready to go, we had a team building training one day with the team, and that kicked off and we started our first planning. Like you were saying, how did we sustain this? And I think I'm gonna go back. I wanna go back to a thing you were saying, because in an agency it's the dollars and amounts,
Yeah.
and I feel in a big company it's when are we getting this thing? And we actually I have a story from his team where they were supposed to redo the entire intranet and create like a feed like a Facebook feed like.
Activity feed.
Yeah, activity feed. And we had designs, we had a bunch of stuff, we got together. And once we got together, at that point we had like a stable velocity, we had so many things going on for this team already. They were out of their first 3 sprints, like you were saying. This team took me a little longer. I think they were kind of an 8-month kind of transformation. So we did the release planning where they scored at everything. We got in a room for 4 hours. They scored it as much as they could. And we break it up in iterations. And that was such a huge game changer for that group. Because really, we did hit it. And we maybe missed it by 1 or 2 days, but it was like a really game changer.
No, 1 or 2 days is nothing. That's a success in my book.
Yeah, and it was a success for Cisco. He said, because we came like, oh, we're not going to be able to make it. We're going to need another week. And he was like, that's nothing. A project delayed by a week is nothing. So that was one of the things. And then I think you guys know most of these things that we have here. The daily standing. I think when I really check on his team, because they were doing this checkbox because they were told they needed to do Agile. So they would do the daily standings and then they would go to their habits, right? I'll do this, I'll pick up the phone, I'll do that kind of thing. And they were going through a big corporate go live, and something didn't go well, and I came to the daily standing and they were like headless chickens, you know what I mean? He was in the middle, and they were like doing the thing, and I'm like, hey guys, I'm here for the daily standing, and they're like, no, we don't have time for the daily standing, and then I just, okay guys, what's going on? And they tell me, no, we have this many issues, and then we have a list of issues, no we don't, okay, let's put it in the backlog, let's change the sprint. What are we not gonna do to do this thing? They came, they took stuff up, we put all of the issues they needed to fix. And from that day on, I think that was a mind changer for them, where it's not a way, it's not a checkbox, it's a way of working. So, and that really changed things for
And similarly, for another comment in the daily standing is me being the manager, and similarly product owner, just by standing and listening in the daily standing, it builds a trust that team is working on the highest priority items. Also, when you see them talking, when you see them collaborating, and when you see them they had the hurdle or blocker that they were able to resolve, that's when you start feeling they don't need me. So I can step back. I don't need to be in the lead and focus on something because you're already seeing the big collaboration there. So ultimately, avoid any need of micromanagement. And I have heard that repeatedly that Scrum encouraged micromanagement, but my experience was it actually avoid micromanagement because it built the trust.
Yeah, trust is the big word there. I see a lot of people fail at it because they don't trust. And so they're then trying to micromanage all these different stories that are going in. It's almost made to break the manager like that.
You were gonna say something? No? Okay. So, I have, and you guys are, I have these here, because I have, and one of the things that you have in Agile is the metrics, and you guys can see some burn downs here. What do you guys see in these burn downs? What do you guys see, for example, in the first one, if you're looking at a burn down like this?
Okay, I'm much more. Oh, hold on. Okay, I found what I got.
The first one, Frankie.
First one looks like it's pretty good to me. 'Cause we're trying to. You're never going to be exactly.
Yeah, you're never going to be perfect with
But
the second one.
you're getting around it, but you're not getting too far off it, and you're moving. So I feel like a good person's good. Got the right answer? If not, I'll change it.
No, I'm agreeing with you. I think it's the more realistic one, especially at the beginning. Well, usually at the beginning, I see two things. I either see a pretty big drop at the beginning, which means it was probably too easy, or it wasn't necessarily estimated out.
You say your goal too low?
I'm sorry?
You say your goal too low?
Probably. Or the opposite is kind of the bottom one. If we see flat, that means something's way too hard. It probably wasn't discovered properly, and we're probably going to have issues because they're spinning their wheels for a long time on something that should be broken up or swapped out. Something should change.
And the one in the middle, the second one?
Wouldn't that be like ideal?
That's how I see it. I never really see it, but
Things are getting done, you're working on things. Things are getting done, you're working on things.
Yeah. And the last one is like, this looks like we're trending, you know what I mean? Like he said, this one, I don't know what's going on. I think we overcommitted, but it's always good to have a conversation with the teams because
The second one, I don't get why that's good. Because I thought the graph meant we got to get to the bottom.
yeah.
We're not ever getting to the bottom here. How's that good? We're filling around, but we're not getting near the bottom. So how's that one
we're
good?
moving somewhere.
But I mean, you're incrementally making your way there.
Oh, you think you're gonna get there?
It's more of a
You got more
predictable.
faith than I got.
That,
Yeah.
He's still way up here.
well, I mean,
above it.
because we haven't got to 3 yet, but to me, 3 sounds like you guys had a surge, like you guys did like a weekend or like some sort of 1 week, like all hands on deck. The CEO's gonna see it on Thursday because you dropped rapidly.
Yeah,
out of nowhere.
3.
Or someone estimated something at an 8, in reality it's like a 1.
Yeah.
And they just burn through it like crazy.
Yeah. So I'm also wondering how you did this because ideally we hit the bottom,
Yeah.
but ideally also we should just trend down. Like the staircase should just follow this almost perfectly. That's literally
I
ideal,
think
right?
what Frankie is saying that first one looks more close to
Oh,
Yeah, because you're closer to the ideal, the average.
Exactly.
Because you hear that, what?
And you know what? You know what,
Here's
Frankie?
like I'm never hitting my number.
You know why Frankie's doing that? Because his Scrum Master have done this. Like, guys, what's going on?
The second
Actually,
one,
don't be fool. Do you know her? Don't be fool. One of the meanest people you live.
The second one though, you're burning down at a predictable rate, which I don't see as a bad thing. You are going to miss that deliverable, which probably means you either need to adjust what your goal is, like what is that minimum viable product to deliver, or try to decide, is there an extra story? Did we just start this one too high?
So basically, that's that one, yeah. It looks like there was a little bit of overcommitment, and I think that's what Frank is trying to say.
Yeah.
Here, it looks like there was an undercommitment, you know what I mean? And this one, like you said, but it's always good to take these metrics to the team and have the conversation with the team, because they have the answer. The symptoms are not always about the same problems.
Yeah.
So not every team is going to have the same problem. That's what I've learned.
Well, even different people. I mean, sometimes, we'll have someone who's not as strong in JavaScript, take a JavaScript-centric story, and that will cause that even burn. That then is like, we missed something here. Can we get someone else to help them out? And I guess the hard part is in the stand-ups, trying to get that out of the person and say, you still have something in that in progress column. It's been there for 3 stand-ups now. Let's talk. What's going on?
Yeah. And then, so basically that's one of the metrics. I don't know if you guys want to touch on any of these, because I feel like you guys know most of these, right?
I
So,
only know why in the retrospective, Allie always makes me cry.
oh my goodness, you're making a bad rap for me.
Like a Dr. Phil episode.
I don't know. The Scrum Master and we're going into the roles, and the trainer, those are difficult positions because you're kind of in the middle and you're trying to train the product owners, stakeholders in one direction, and you're trying to train the team members in the same direction, but from a different angle. And it's a hard place to be. You're not making tons of friends. At least at first. If they see the light, then they like it.
So he's a joker, just so you
I
guys
am
know.
a joker. Allie's actually tough but nice. Tough but nice. And yeah, you guys get together. Let me take a picture.
Okay.
Up by the picture, up by the soccer thing.
But it's the soccer
Yeah. Smile good. All right. Boom. I don't know. I'm a horrible picture. Let me take 2 just in case I will. I think I got that second.
So let's talk, we have talked about a bunch of, but one of the things that was a game changer for us when we got a product owner. So let's just take a minute and fill this thing out for the roles. And let's just think about, because this is where a lot of the stuff changed of how we do things. So estimate the size of the backlog. Do you guys want to take like a minute and just try to fill it out?
Yeah, you can have multiple answers for some of it, right?
Yes.
Don't tell me, because truly, I don't know the answers. That's why I came, because even though I've been working, I have a lot of this stuff I really don't know.
Frankie get nervous when I was
I
looking
kind
at
of came to
this.
get some education, so don't help me. So tell me why I'm wrong.
Oh, bro.
We have 6 minutes to go.
I think we're good. Update the script.
Wait, so
Okay, we're ready to,
Discuss.
yeah. Cool. So estimate the size of the items in the backlog.
I put Scrum Master and product owner. No?
You guys do. The team.
the team.
Ah, wow.
You remember those poker games you played?
So it's actually the only right answer is team.
It's the team.
Do you guys teach the pigs and the chicken one? Okay.
And we also, our teams have evolved from the cards to the fingers. Like they, like
Oh, okay.
1, 2,
And I mean the
3.
finger, buddy.
Yeah. Everyone's a one.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay, I get it, but I thought that, okay, you're right. I mean, I've been in this meeting where we're looking at the brewery. So what you're saying, you're drinking, you're getting us, you're invoking it from us.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
We don't say it. We facilitate the
Yeah,
meeting.
I don't like to dictate as Scrum Master what the size of it is because I don't want to be writing checks that the developer is going to have to be cashing.
Exactly.
They're saying this is going to be a tough one, this is going to be an easy one. I'm leaving it up to them.
Exactly. Yeah. So participate in the sprint planning,
I put master and owner.
and you guys too.
We're in that too?
Yes. Update the release burn down. That basically, I feel like Jira does that for us, right?
Yeah, ours is automated. I usually
Yeah.
put it on the Scrum Master to manage the chart, but I've also been on teams where a dev does it. So a
Exactly.
team member just
But what's the
chooses it.
right answer?
Either or, the team or the Scrum Master, I feel like.
But not product owner. I'm blaming the product owner for a lot of stuff.
Because burn down and product are part of the stand-up, and we actually bar our product owners from the stand-up meetings. I know some teams say if they can be silent, they can observe, but we bar them from it.
Yeah.
It's too hard for them.
Yeah. Ensure that the team follows the Scrum practices.
Scrum Master.
Yeah. Update the sprint backlog tasks when they are done. That's the board. Who updates the board?
Well, you guys let us do it. Sometimes we do our own, but the Scrum Master does help. Is it fair to have two answers or team the right answer?
Yeah.
Team's right answer.
Well, if the Scrum Master is looking for the team to update it, but like you say, we're helpers, so we help whenever
But the
needed.
correct answer is the team.
Yeah.
Scrum Master gives us.
Because I need you guys help us out. Like, you'll go, okay, I'll do that for you. So, and I'll just let that, anytime you offer me help, I take it.
Ensure impediments are removed.
Scrum Master.
There you go. Manage the budget and return on investment.
Well, real quick on the last one, we also put team, but I put that because part of the
That's true.
self-organizing, I don't want it just to be on the Scrum Master. If it's something the team can say, hey, you know what, I worked on this last year, I know this. I want another team member to hop in. I don't want to be doing that.
And I agree with you. Like, usually in our teams, we try to say we remove blockers that the team cannot remove themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Like, especially if it's dealing with stakeholder, product owner, I'm more than happy to, be that divider if it makes sense. But also, I don't want to completely isolate them and say
Exactly.
you can't talk to the devs. No, I want to kind of find that middle ground, which is difficult.
Yeah, and usually what I tell the product owner and the team members is, you guys talk everything you want. Just make sure that if it's not going to increment your current work, I don't care. You guys talk. You know what I mean? Now, if it's going to change what we're currently doing, not what's coming in the future, what we're currently doing, call me so we can help you guys.
Yep.
Just a quick time check, it's 2 minutes. So wanted to share our contact information and any questions.
Real quick, and I don't think you can answer this quickly, because really the real reason I came here, I make jokes about it, but I don't really, I've been in this for 2 years and I still don't get it. They've been trying to help me, but I'm hard to help.
Yeah.
I've been
Okay.
doing this for a couple years. I still don't have it 100%.
What is the real purpose of the retrospective? All jokes aside, all Dr. Phil jokes aside, I feel like it's sometimes when we have difficult team members, and that's never me because I'm always humping and happy, it's actually an opportunity for things to get opened up we don't need to talk about. Like, I don't know. I don't know that it's a real benefit, but I want you to convert me.
Convert you?
Tell me what the real purpose and how I'm supposed to look at the retrospective, what the purpose of it is.
Sure. So, Ali will answer the real definition. I will answer the results that I've seen. So, what I have seen in the intranet team and some other teams, that when they discuss about the problems, and then they pick one problem to solve in next sprint, that give them empowerment on their own issues, and moving forward, they brought more things that they could solve, and that's the change that I have seen. That's the impact that I have seen. in
Yeah.
that aspect.
Big
Yeah, and I don't know, I haven't been in your lectures for a while, but I do know it's a little squirrely because sometimes you start talking about mushy things, because it's a cultural change. And even in the Agile Manifesto group, you're going to see that they talk about these are cultural. Agile is about culture, and basically, it's having those tough conversations so that the team can improve and they can get better. Like he said, like we had one team member who he used to call himself Negative Nancy in his team.
Oh, that was mine.
Yeah, no, it's not yours. Negative Nancy. And I feel like the retrospective was the key to change him, because he felt like everything they got the power to change things on their own, improve themselves, and it did get better. Like their queue got better. They are working at a better pace. I don't know if I can convert you, because I feel like Agile is a journey. I'm still in my journey.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm still changing my mind. But it's just a growing, because we're used to something. Like you said, we're used to not talking about the elephant in the room. And now we're going to talk about the elephant in the room.
And I always run into squeaky wheels. You know, they're always saying, I don't like this or I don't like that. And I don't want to call them complainers, because I like to turn around them. Great, this is a problem. You don't like this. How are you going to change that? Because it's not on me to fix it as a Scrum Master. It's on them. It's on the team. So if the team really thinks that this is an issue, they can come together and say, you know what, we want to work a couple sprints on this. We could do X and Y to work on this. And I say, great, we have this much time allocated to work on our technical debt. Does everyone agree this is something we should work on? Or maybe we can wait till 2 iterations in and we have some room. So it still gives them that voice, but it also gives the other people voices to say, you know what, this person just complains about this every time. It's a small issue. We don't want to work on this right now. So it's valid, but I want to put it on the person who's bringing that concern up to make their own solution. If they know the problem, they can help drive the team towards that solution.
Okay, so, all right, okay.
We can continue this conversation.
I think what it is from a man, because I'm trying to look at it from a man's perspective, not code monkey perspective. And I think I get it. It is actually, when I think of it that way, it is effective. Because what it does, it forces you to articulate what you're not happy about instead of just grumping. Yeah, that's what the Scrum Master does, what Allie's an expert at. Okay, you're grumping. Let's talk about that for a minute. What would you do? And all of a sudden, oh no, I got a homework assignment. Next time, I will think about it more carefully. So I see now, really I do. So I get it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And I just want to end up with this quote. I'm sorry, guys. This is one of the Agile leaders in the community, in the Agile community. Her name is Lisa Atkins. She wrote the book Coaching Agile Teams, and I just love it. I feel like Agile is like gravity. If I drop something here, it's just gonna fall. And Agile tries to take care, it's just gravity. It takes care of gravity. Rock climbers understand it. Clients have needs, it's gravity. It's always gonna happen. They wanna change it. The team don't know exactly what's gonna happen, that's gravity. So we just embrace that. The world moves on an unbelievable fast pace and creates situations no one can foresee. That's gravity. And finally, like you said, we cannot write checks, right?
Yep.
For the other people who are going to cash out. You cannot make commitments on anyone else's behalf except and expect a committed behavior. That's gravity. And I feel like that's Agile. Thank you for being here. And I think you guys see our contact information. If you guys want to talk to us, you know where to find us. It's just a walk. Thank you so much.
I think